Now, I normally don't make Deltarune theory videos, but I've been obsessed with Deltarune ever since Chapter 1 release. I've been keeping up with theories for a long while now, and I want to share my predictions before Chapter 5 is released. I just couldn't keep all these banger theories, as listed on the thumbnail, trapped in my head. And hey, Deltarune is an RPG. This is an RPG channel, so why not? But I'm only giving myself one shot, like Eminem. So, I say that I shall solve the entire future of Deltarune in one video. Put the dog-themed Millennium Puzzle together and become the king of role-playing games. Alright, different series. Quickly, I'd like to say how grateful I am that you showed so much love to my last video. It is my most viewed RPG video ever. Likely 60% to do with the thumbnail, but we keep it rolling. Hopefully, there will be something I make that will beat out the Lacey and Urban Spook video one day. As for my profile picture, I changed it from Gary Oak to the Dark Magician Girl. Why? Well, whenever I choose the girl avatar in a game, I just get so unreasonably happy to do so. Don't know why. Maybe it's because the girl options just give you so much more fashion swag? I guess that preference carries over to my profile picture, I guess. As for how this video is going to work, I'm gonna start with one idea and just slither my way through, letting every idea build off the last naturally so that this video has a better flow, using my standard style of but, because, or therefore style of script writing. To me, there are 3 keys to understanding the narrative of Deltarune and its ultimate conclusion. I bring you the collective of theories that unite under one that explains Deltarune as a whole, from beginning to end. I give unto you Freud and Jung theory. I want to start with the question of, what is Ralsei? I mean, what he is will be a big reveal that will change how we see him in the whole narrative if they are hiding it from us for so long and making such a big deal out of it. Now, before I reveal what Ralsei definitively is, let's go over a dark world and its rules, as the rules of a dark world, combined with his behavior, already kind of reveal in plain sight the true identity of Ralsei. So, let's explain away. These are worlds based on cognition and desire, channeled into a single room. Different parts of the room and the inanimate objects will come to life. A laptop can become the queen of the internet. A TV can become a show host, and a one of hearts becomes a low-level servant to a king. They're known as darkeners. Think of them as the toys from Toy Story, or for a deep cut, the objects from A Brave Little Toaster, combined with the palaces from Persona 5. To examine the second one, the palace ruler of these dark worlds, or in Deltarune, the Roaring Knight, the person creating these dark fountains, the dark worlds, are heavily patterned after their cognition and desires. The same dark world can change drastically based on who opens it. Could be in the same room with the same objects, but because of a different person with a different mindset and cognition of that room opening the dark fountain, they are drastically different. All of these rules begets the question, why does the same guy with the same appearance, same personality, and same name keep appearing across 4 different dark worlds and 3 different creators? Well, what if Ralsei is based off a more collective part of the human psyche? Something a little less limiting than a playing card or a laptop. To explain what I'm about to say, let's talk about Carl Jung. Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud theorized a concept known as the collective unconscious, a collective of thoughts and ideas that lie within most, if not all of us. When we think and act, what we are doing is summoning those thoughts into the world, with 2 means of doing so: presenting them to others as our persona, or hiding them in a repressed corner of the mind, our shadow, contrasted with the light of our persona. They even went as far to say certain story tropes were actually metaphors for a part of the collective unconscious and certain life experiences. For example, take the story trope of a confrontation with a strong, authoritative man who may be disapproving of the protagonist's activities. Freud believed that this trope was a metaphor for boys becoming men and atoning with their fathers, as they will be replaced in role and function as the boy becomes a self-sufficient man with his own children. In Deltarune, Ralsei may be based off the concept of the collective unconscious, perhaps maybe even a very specific desire shared by most, if not all, of mankind. Now this is where I say my theory outright. The answer to what Ralsei is, his true identity. Ralsei is the concept of friendship given form. That is the theory. For more supporting evidence, might I point out that we have seen Darkners based off abstract concepts rather than objects on multiple occasions. Spamton is based off the concept of a spam email, Shadow Guy is the mere concept of an actor, and The Crowd is just the mere concept of a Big Bang Theory style laugh track. Now, let's swoon down every normal object Ralsei could be before proceeding with the theory. Let's start with the green crayon. We've seen what they look like in a dark world, and they're just green crayons. Simple, normal green crayons. Next is the red horned headband, which is most likely the shadow mantle / Eran. A drawing is far from enough to bring a replica of a specific person into a dark world. We've been shown that you need piles of their dust after they die. And no, I shall not dignify piles of Azrael's dust by trying to debunk it. Now that we have that base covered, let's head back to proving why Ralsei is the concept of friendship given form. For Ralsei to be considered a concept darkener that can work in any dark world, from a closet, to a computer lab, to a living room, to a church foyer, they would need to be a universal being in the collective unconscious. Humans are social creatures, and despite us playing as the only human, we can assume that all these monsters have some sort of human-like psychology. And since we are social beings, most, if not all of us, have a strong desire for a friend, or at least some sort of socialization or belonging. It's baked into our nature. At least the Roaring Knight would have that desire. I mean, think about it. All the popular candidates are going through the male loneliness epidemic. Des is trapped and getting tortured by a demon cat in the bunker, so yeah, not having the best time. Rudy is bedridden, one of his daughters is missing, and his wife hates him. Asgore lost his whole family in a divorce and is about to lose his business and home. And every line spoken about Papyrus is about how he is a sad action figure collector that lives out of his brother's basement. Now, you may be asking, if Ralsei is just meant to be the embodiment of the desire for friendship, then why does it look like specifically Asriel while having an anagram for a name? Well, this is where we come back to what I said earlier. A concept from the collective unconscious can interpret itself and refract off our personal identity to express itself as our persona. The concept of a friend, or dare I say, the image of a friend, is formed from the collective unconscious, refracted off the personal identity of Asriel, is formed from the collective unconscious, refracted off the personal identity of our dear brother Asriel, informed into the living persona, Ralsei. For all the credible knight candidates, they would have ties to Asriel. And this theory explains why Ralsei knows more than he's letting on. It's because he originates from a deeper and more universal location of the mind than all other Darkners we have seen before. Deltarune already has a place that's equivalent to the collective unconscious, the depths. A creature from the deepest part of the depths would reasonably know about deep lore concepts like the prophecy and image friend. Also, now that I've added the detail that Ralsei is reflecting off the personal identity of Asriel to create the living persona, Ralsei, it makes sense why he hides so much, especially his more negative emotions. He is the mask we wear for the public. A persona made manifest. You can tell it's my favorite RPG franchise. Let's keep it $1.50. Ralsei is only that. A mask with no shadow, no paper, and no maidens. Now that is the theory. Ralsei is the manifestation of friendship, reflected off the love and personality of Asriel, and made into the persona of Ralsei. But what if we reverse that? What would happen if the concept of regret, trauma, and grief manifested through the corpse of a lost loved one, powered by a dark world, a shadow made manifest? What if whatever December Holiday became, it's the opposite of Ralsei? What if December Holiday isn't the Roaring Knight and Gaster isn't the main villain? What if whatever in the face of what December became, Gaster doesn't even matter? Yes, I believe the final boss of Deltarune is the corpse of December, fueled by the collective trauma of her loss. And this entity is the main antagonist of Deltarune, not W.D. Wingdings Gaster. I present to you the second key to understanding the future and ending of Deltarune. Bowsette Theory. How Death became a monster wearing the skin and crown of a princess. Before I begin, this is your last chance to leave before we get into the deepest depths of Deltarune fan theory brain rot. You have two options. You take the blue pills, you grow absolute melons, make hyper pop and break core, and play ultra kill. You become based and red pilled, and I'll show you how to mog clavicular. Well, with your red pill implicitly taken, let's get started on how I cracked the code behind December's disappearance and the final boss of the game. Begin! December Holiday made an enormous impact on everyone that knew her, especially when she disappeared without a trace. From the perspective of the player, us, who only appeared into the world of Deltarune a few in-game days ago, we don't know much about her. Only that she had a very quirky and out-there personality. She loved to play on her guitar, and as for her bat, we don't actually know if she actually played baseball with the bat that she owned. We just know that she smacked Kris over the head with it one time. And that's it. That is all we definitively know about December. And if anyone tries telling you anything else, it's just widely accepted headcanon. And that's it. Might I add, headcanons of varying quality. To call back to what I just said, December is missing. And as of chapters 3 and 4, we have a second motive through adventuring through the Dark Worlds that isn't just closing the fountains to prevent the roaring. Our motive that is becoming more prevalent is finding December. To find her. .ogg. It is increasingly evident that the plot of the game will be journeying through several themed worlds with the help of our timid green brother while gaining various power-ups along the way until we save a girl from a giant animalistic monster. Now, forgive me if you never heard of the game I'm about to mention, but this description of the plot kind of reminds me of this, kind of obscure art house critique of the gender binary and capitalism indie game that you might not have heard before. I think it's called, Super Mario Bros. December is literally stuck in a fortress and is screaming for us to help from the code itself. She is literally, as possible, a damsel in distress. Why do I bring up this fact? Well, in the last game, the final boss was just a nice, tutorial-giving flower that could totally never hurt you. This flower's your best friend, not your worst nightmare. Now that we're in Deltarune and we've been shown an adorable young girl who needs to be found, forgive me for being a little suspicious, given what the final boss of the last game was, and Undertale and Deltarune's tendency to deconstruct video game tropes and traditions. Deltarune seems to already be asking us several very meta questions already. Questions such as, what if the main character doesn't want to be controlled by the player? What if your childhood best friend didn't want to date the main character? What if the dragon doesn't need to be slain? What if you could befriend all the monsters instead of killing them for EXP? What if the child of divorce was the reason their parents split up, and it was all their fault? Again, the final boss of Undertale was a tutorial giving flower. Why can't the final boss of Deltarune be a girl locked away by a monster? What, you think the final threat is gonna be some mysterious evil skeleton scientist man that puppets the world from the shadows because he's evil and hates fun, and has also never been mentioned outside of the code in one cutscene where he doesn't even say his name? Gaster being the villain will only be expected or at all anticipated by people who have caught up with every single spooky dude, Jaru, goldpro, Nighthawk, Cammyboig, and Lorefax TV upload for over 8 years. It is frankly too late to make him the villain behind the entire thing. One could even say, Toby, you're taking too long. Now, I do think Gaster might be lore significant somewhere, maybe. Just not the main villain of the immediate and literal story. For an example of what I'm trying to communicate, the Great Will / the Axiom from Shin Megami Tensei. This character created the entire Shin Megami Tensei verse and is technically responsible for all story events. The Great Will is not the final boss of Persona 5 because he isn't relevant to the story of Persona 5. The story of that game is about Joker getting his life uprooted and choosing to use the metaverse to change the hearts and minds of corrupted leaders, and eventually taking on the soon-to-be Prime Minister of Japan, Masayoshi Shido. The story is not about the evil eye monster who created the layered dimensional multiverse. I think the same thing will happen with Deltarune.
But Inaba, what about the My Deltarune scene? How is that gonna be significant if Gaster isn't the main villain?
Liberal. La la la, Suzo smuggling, fentanyl, Katamari, forced government, Yuri Nation. Well, I personally think this text is coming from Toby Fox to hype us up for Chapter 5, not Gaster talking about the prophecy. If this was him talking about the prophecy, as of this moment, I don't think he would be this optimistic. Wouldn't he be upset that we are setting out to deliberately subvert the prophecy? I just think it's safer to say it's the guy who has always been the narrator for Deltarune. What I think Gaster's role will be, if even this happens, is being the final character that talks to us on the weird route. He'll only confront us once we have mastered the art of gaslighting, gatekeeping, and girlbossing. Once we have learned to take control over Deltarune, we will finally get that talk with him. We'll basically be the Deltarune version of Kara. Now, instead of Gaster, I think all narrative arrows are pointing towards the Roaring Knight and December Holiday being the most relevant forces in the story, which I do think are separate characters for reasons that I'll explain much later. Until then, I want to talk about why I think this theory works on a more literal narrative level. I want to continue by talking about what I think happened to Des that made her into something that is final boss material. But instead of giving it to you dry, I'm going to give you a fully scripted sequence of events that illustrates what I think happened to her. I even got a very surprising amount of voice actors for this. Now, to credit them, I'll put them all up on screen in 3, 2, 1. Now, thank you to everyone that contributed. Listen, I told you the number would be impressive. Just one guy for all these characters? It's the stuff of solo showbiz. Now, let's rock! It's Des time!
Row, fight the power! Row, fight the power!
So, that's how you summon a demon. If you do this ritual, it will corrupt your soul and make you possessed. So, I thought I'd mention that.
And if you do this, a demon will corrupt your soul and make you do bad things. I get a load of this guy. Candyman, Bloody Mary, Luigi boards, you know, all that stuff was made up by an old stickler to stop people from, I don't know, listening to Korn and doing butt stuff. You gotta hop off all that superstition nonsense. Demons are real, Des. If you're caught with your pants down around a demon, you're dead. No demon is catching me with my pants down. For one, they aren't even real, and for two, I've got my wiffle bat, and my lineage is a member of the Holiday family. One hit from us, and you're as good as swooned. Now, anyway, you said you also had like another story about these things called Dark World. Do you mind explaining those? I'll see it when I believe it.
How about tomorrow? We'll go to the bunker and open it to prove that they are real.
Sure, but I want to hold the knife. Let's make this thing into a whole adventure. Slay some demons, snag some drinks from the underworld, and might even snag some succubus babes while we're down there, eh? Also, I'm gonna bring Azzy and one of those plushies from the supply closet to make into one of those darkeners you were talking about. And hey, Caddy, this is the year 2007. We don't call them darkeners anymore. We call them people of color now.
To change my mind a bit, it might be too dangerous to go on a whole dark world adventure. You don't know what could happen in there, Des.
Listen, you think we're put on this earth for 70 years just to be safe? To be inoffensive? To not break from the path? To just listen to the top charting songs? To get a to get a desk job? To go to HR meetings and make sure to use their lingo? And let your riskiest activity be dropping in on some gossip with your gal pals? What? Sometimes you just gotta do stuff, you know? No overthinking it, no philosophizing it, not the hysterectomal, topological, solipsism, nihilism, vasectomy of masculinity, patriarchal capitalism, or whatever. Sometimes you just need to break free from the path. Sometimes you just need to break free from the path set before you. Even if some sort of like extra dimensional entity comes down and tells you some sort of lame prophecy, you just gotta make your own rules. So, let's rock! Remember, I insisted that if you're going to include Azrael, you need to bring along me for safety and Kris will include, of course.
You know, I'm starting to get second thoughts here. What if it really is as dangerous as Caddy said? What if you get hurt? I really want you to be safe.
It may be easy to get scared right now, but there's a light inside your soul, and it's still shining in the cold. So don't forget, I'm with you in the dark.
That's right. Let's do this together, bro. Is he finally talking to me? Finally, he's talking to me instead of December. Ain't that right, Des?
Well, let's march in, gang, together. He's right behind me, isn't he? Well, look at that. We got a boss monster to kill. It's that character from that Cat Petters game Ellie won't clam up about. Quite my new song you should all go listen to. When the demon heart is crying and the blood is gushing bright, raise up your bat for the burning fight. Now let's dig in, gang. This fight's getting a little tough. I don't even think I, the big bad desk, can beat this thing on my own. Hey, little Christmas, go seal that dark fountain. Now, listen here, pal, image friend, or whatever your name is. Once the coolest kid in the world over there seals the dark fountain, you're on thin ice, Buster. And it's gonna be no more Mr. Nice Guy.
Why should I listen to you, December? You always want to hug my brother away from me. You aren't even cool. You just act like I had to steal my successful brother away from me. You just want it because of his success.
Listen, I know you're upset, but just put that aside for now and seal the damn fountain.
Make me.
I understand that it feels hurtful that I have so much of his attention, but I'm not trying to steal his love from you. He doesn't love you any less because of me. I'm just wanting to hang out with him because I think your bro's cool or whatever. You think I'm cool. You normally don't even think this way. It's just today, emotions running high, lots of monsters. I get that, but like, I'll even include you on our little hangout events after this. So just remember what I keep telling you. Don't forget, I'm with you in the dark. Now let me see you grit those teeth.
Thank you, December. Des.
Well, now that we've got that figured out, let's... I'm sorry. If only my will was made out of steel, then I wouldn't have made the mistake that have gotten you stabbed like that. I'm sorry. So, I'm about to die a punk and a fool. Listen, don't forget, even when it's so dark that photon readings start to go negative, that light inside your soul is gonna help you, okay? This is very, very interesting. When we're at our weakest, that's when we gotta be at our strongest. So make sure your heart is my mark that I was ever alive at all. Me, Des. We gotta get away! Now! Don't seal the fountain! Just go! Now! The Dark World's image friend! Des is missing! She just got killed by cat monster, and all I could get back was her pat. Please, you gotta believe me!
You expect me to believe all that hogwash? You're fired! Now get out of here.
And to add on to that, if you wanna ramble about your dark worlds instead of actually finding her, you can forget our marriage. I'm getting together with the mayor. Yeah, the creator of this vid ships that. What you gonna do about that? And the curtain closes with Yuri. And that is what I think happened. To summarize, Caddy taught Des about dark worlds and potentially what you need to do to summon the player. Then, after a dark fountain was created in the bunker, Des, Azrael, Asgore, Shaman, Kris adventured into the bunker dark world. They all proceed to meet the one and only image_friend. And due to some error probably relating to Kris, Des was killed by image_friend. Then Asgore tried to tell his fellow police officers about the dark worlds, resulting in him getting taken out of the police force because he sounded insane. This also led to the divorce he had with Toriel, which is going to be very relevant later, I promise. I'd like to first elaborate on Caddy's role in all this. She's the middleman between the dark worlds and the light worlds, now that this theory is very absent of Gaster. As we know, she is very into the occult and the dark arts, so it wouldn't be exactly Alex Jones material to say that if this setting contains something known as the Dark Worlds, she'd know how to summon one. Now, however, I do not think Caddy would have the guts to adventure through a dark world. Now, let's get to the cast I believe adventured through this ever so fatal dark world. As for Des, her being involved with the bunker is basically self-evident. If she were to adventure through one of these dangerous locations, I'm trying my best to mix up the words I'm saying, she'd most likely bring along the guy she's very friendly or even great partners with, Azrael. As for Asgore's December's disappearance, Asgore being taken out of the police force and his crushing divorce are tied extremely obviously. I don't even have to explain it further. As for Sham, they seem to be much more knowledgeable about dark worlds than any other Darkner when it comes to dark worlds. Either that, or since the light and dark worlds run in continuity with each other a little bit, he was taken to every place a fountain will be opened in the remaining plot of this game, and that's how he knows so much about who might be holding all the shadow crystals and stuff. But let's move on. As for our blue little sponge, I know for a fact they have guilt and trauma associated with Des and her disappearance due to at least the chapter 3 and 4 egg rooms. Even if Des disappearing / passing away is not directly the fault of them, then we can at least argue for something such as survivor's guilt. And that's the key. Guilt, trauma, self-hatred. When the Darkner made out of Gerson was created, it was done using his cremated ashes scattered around his favorite object encased in a snow globe. Gerson was remembered fondly as a teacher, as a creative, and a contributor to the church. He went when it was his time to go, and it's heavily implied or outright stated what caused him to leave this world was, well, old age. Nothing else could take you, Gerson. Glad you got to stay for a long while. On the other hand, when Des had her time, it wasn't nearly time for her to go. She could have gone to college, gotten married, or pursued her passion in music. If it wasn't for a stupid mistake, none of this would have happened. This consumed the beast that is her remains, the monster being fed by the misery of those who can't move on from her. What she became with the shadow at the back of your mind, your oppressed thoughts, what you're told not to do by yourself and others, a twisted manifestation of identity. We already know what a darkener that is an object with a long and storied history, imbued with regret and separation looks like. What I just described, Tenna follows this description to a T, and he's a one-man army that can hold down an entire dark world. No chain of command. According to Versus Battles Wiki, this guy canonically beats Homelander in a fight, and if that's how juiced up on power you can get off the evil WarioWare divorce TV, then imagine the strength of December in this hypothetical. What would be a better final boss for a game about escapism and nostalgia than a traumatic memory you can't run from anymore? To get off my admittedly angsty high horse, why do I think Des being definitively dead is the most logical conclusion to come to? Well, let's critique all the circumstances of her disappearance to find out. First off, I think it is very unrealistic that she has been missing for around 8 years in hometown and she has not been found. She is the daughter of a politician, the girlfriend of the son of the police chief, and she is a 16-year-old girl who is, let's say the quiet part out loud, white. I know she's a furry little creature, but come on. I know how the Holiday family is. Blonde hair, blue eyes, immune to the cold, good credit score, and able to talk to the police. It's kind of like a reverse Nick Wilde or Knuckles situation here. They're furry creatures, but like, come on, we know. What I'm trying to say here is that the cops and even the civilians would be going buck wild, using every method in the world available. Yes, am I invoking missing white girl syndrome to solve Deltarune? Yes, but moving on! When someone like that has been missing for over 8 years, there are 3 main possibilities for what happened. Either A, the person is dead, B, the person has intentionally disappeared in order to avoid some extreme consequence or obligation, or 3, they are out of the country and sent off to a place that I cannot mention for reasons that I don't want to get into in a Deltarune video. So, which of 3 is it? Alright, let's not even entertain possibility number 3. As for possibility number 2, if she were to run away, it would be for like a day or 2 then come back. This leaves only possibility number 1, the most realistic answer. That's why yo Des is dead. Dead as hell. Well, I think I've shown off all that I want to about this theory. To summarize, I believe Des is not missing, but she is passed away. And what became of her remains is a monster that feeds off of hatred and loathing and regret and repression. A monster that grows more dangerous the more you push it to the back of your mind. The more you let it fester, the stronger and more monstrous it grows. The queen of all darkness and the dark worlds themselves is the shadow made manifest. Well, there's one thing I haven't entirely proved. See, there's an elephant in the room involving death theories that I haven't covered yet. See, if you don't know or need a refresher, the most popular candidate for who could be behind the mask of the Roaring Knight is Death. Which, on the surface, sounds like the perfect theory. After this character goes missing for a long time, a mysterious masked antagonist claiming to be the Knight shows up and acts like they have a connection to the main protagonist and starts fighting a lot like them. Sounds like the perfect theory. Sounds like literally Jason Todd from the Arkham Knight game. But I am a contrarian when it comes to the belief that Death is the Roaring Knight. And here's why. You need to do a lot of light world travel, and for her to not be spotted is a little absurd. Like, you think there'd be at least one NPC that'd say something like, hey, this girl that we believe has gone missing for over 8 years is, like, running around with a katana and stabbing the ground. You might want to get that checked out. And there are a bunch of other reasons that people believe Death is somehow the Roaring Knight that isn't just repeating Jason Todd in the Arkham Knight again, but they'll be addressed even later. Yes, I'm procrastinating even on disproving the most popular Deltarune theory of all time. Oh, how typical of me. Well, in the absence of believing this strange little reindeer's the Knight, who do I think it could be? Well, let's go through all the remaining candidates and keep ruling them out until we have only one left. Again, December can't be the Knight because, well, how necessary light world travel would be. Noelle and Carol can't be the Knight because they were home at the time the Knight created the Chapter 4 Dark World, and Asgore can't be the Knight because of his incorrect horn shape, not matching onto the Knight in his incorrect body shape, and was also, again, at home when the Chapter 4 Dark Fountain was getting created. Asriel can't be the Knight because, again, wrong horn shape, and may I remind you, away at college. So, who's left? Alright, so that means, oh no, it can't be. With all other candidates ruled out, I say this with a heavy heart, but the only remaining candidate is Rudy Holiday. Rudy is the Roaring Knight.
Row, fight the power. Row, fight the power.
There is a surprising amount of evidence that Rudy Holiday is the Roaring Knight, despite how niche this theory is. I am incredibly certain that Rudy Holiday is the Roaring Knight that we've been chasing this entire story. The evidence I have compiled here today proves beyond any reasonable doubt that Rudy has to be the Roaring Knight, open to being wrong about the last two revelations I have described in this video, of Ralsei being something else than what I have predicted, or Des not being the final boss. But this, I am dead set on this. So, let's look at the evidence. Let's begin the climb up this mountain of evidence with the fight you get against the Roaring Knight. The song that plays before the fight when the Roaring Knight is straight aura farming is called Breath. The song features faucet dripping, labored breathing, and coughing. I'll even play the entire song here because it's only 20 seconds.
Hey, want to listen to some tunes?
To add on to that, there are more strange associations that the Roaring Knight has to respiratory issues, such as the mysterious cursed orb lodged in their chest, and the flavor text in the middle of the fight seems to constantly mention things like your breathing becoming twisted, your heart rate becoming twisted, and stuff like that. And the action that allows us to outmaneuver the Roaring Knight much more easily seems to be us having more control over our lungs and breathing than the Roaring Knight. It seems that's a prominent motif with the Roaring Knight, and one that lasts for longer than one sprite. A motif that only seems to be linked with one character, Rudy, short for Rudolph. Another thing I'd like to mention about the fight is that we finally get to see the knight's appearance, and the fact that they're a reindeer, and I promise you, this goes deeper than just the antlers. For example, the theme song for the Roaring Knight, Black Knife, has nearly the exact same BPM, Camelot, and key as the song Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the namesake of Rudy. To continue the connections, want to know the most iconic feature of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer? He glows red through the dark, which is something that we can see the Roaring Knight doing. We also see the Roaring Knight get excluded from the reindeer games that happened in Chapter 2, and even though the connections I made were just straight min levels of stretching, they still exist, so yeah. The last thing I want to talk about when it comes to the knight's appearance in boss battle is their weapon, a black katana. And in the Holiday manner, we can see a black katana at what is most likely Rudy's bedside. Now, I don't have to explain why I think the black katana is the black katana instead of the beige wiffle ball bat that gets contradicted by like every single other sprite of the knight's weapon. But no, the knight's desk, and I think actually the only problem with the theory is that it's too obvious that it's the correct answer. Even though I've drawn a line between everything we know about the knight and Rudy, that's only half of the evidence I've got in store for you today. Note how in chapters 1, 2, In 4, the fountains created in those chapters are extremely close to the hospital. I mean, like, one loading screen max from the hospital. But in chapter 3, when we get the only dark fountain not opened by the night and not right next to the hospital, it mysteriously takes the Roaring Knight 4 hours to get there. Now, to tie this back to the fight, you might be saying, well, if the Roaring Knight is Rudy, then how do they drag Undyne to the bunker when she is shown to be a trained officer that can break tables in two on accident and bench press cars? Answer me that.
Objection!
Alright, Chuckle Nuts, tell me which Roaring Knight candidate can. The only person in the entire game that makes sense to overpower Undyne is Asgore. And this is where I say, yeah, he's the one that took Undyne to the bunker. Remember, Rudy and Asgore are tight with each other. So much so that, depending on the interpretation, they're tight with each other in more ways than one. I wouldn't doubt the Brokeback Mountain King Asgore would come in tight for Rudy. The best conclusion is that Rudy just passed off Undyne to Asgore and then he took her to the bunker. This leads me to a pretty tough question. Why would the Roaring Knight capture Undyne and Toriel? Like, no matter who you think the Roaring Knight is, this is a hard question to answer. Since the bunker needs to be opened by 3 codes, and Undyne and Toriel are associated with 2 of them, is the mission to collect them in order to get to the bunker? Well, no, because the Roaring Knight can enter just fine. Is it to block Kris from getting the codes? No, the Roaring Knight and Kris are a team. Alright, what about blocking the soul from getting into the bunker? No, because what purpose would that serve? Alright, after a lot of thinking, this is what I came up with. What if Undyne and Toriel would be a massive inconvenience for the Roaring Knight and the whole conspiracy? It's obvious how Undyne would be a police officer that would actually care about the whole situation and all. But why would Toriel be an inconvenience to the Roaring Knight? Well, if I was Toriel, I would not approve of my kid being shoved into places known as dark worlds on behalf of a mysterious and evil politician in order to summon a dead guitarist. At least before they've done their homework and cleaned their room. Now that Toriel's gone, we can proceed with the Roaring Knight operations without her watchful gaze. Now we've clearly defined the motive behind the Roaring Knight's most narrative-shattering action, which is capturing Undyne and attempting to take Toriel. I want to cover what Rudy's motive is for being the knight as a whole. It's obvious. The motive is to find Des. Just look at all 4 places the fountains are being opened. These are places where we know that December would have been frequently. The school that she went to, the library where she messed around on the computers with Noelle, the house she used to go to see Azriel, and the church the entire family went to weekly. Now, yet another amazing piece of Rudy Knight evidence that still ties back into his motives as the Roaring Knight is that Rudy, being the Roaring Knight, would be a perfect parallel to Asgore in Undertale. In Undertale, Asgore sacrificed children to save the world. But in Deltarune, Rudy is gonna sacrifice the world to save his child. Now, I don't think this is a task Rudy does sorrowfully and regretfully. I think he loves this. He revels in this. He gets to be so powerful in the fantasy mind realm of the dark worlds. Maybe that confidence is some of what gives him power. He's finally healthy and strong again, not bound to his hospital bed. And better yet, he's anonymous under that suit of armor. To draw a real-life connection that I promise is relevant and evidence-based when it comes to this theory, for me, on every social media possible, I use a kawaii anime girl as my profile picture, whether it be Yui or Dark Magician Girl or someone else. Sadly, I'm not one in real life. Yes, sadly, I'm not a kawaii anime waifu IRL. But in this world of illusions, I am granted a wonderful, new, shining body. It makes me so happy. It fills me with a power and confidence unspoken of before or since. The Roaring Knight, obviously being Rudy, might be going through something similar. This similar effect explains why the Roaring Knight is so cocky and loves laughing, which are some personality traits Rudy has in the real world. The debatably best piece of evidence there is for the glorious, goated theory that is Rudy Knight is that Rudy kinda has no other narrative function to fulfill except for dying to fuel Noel's character arc. Quite literally fridging him, which is not something that I think Toby would just suddenly stoop to. Alright, we don't teach these theorists to write with fridging. That's not the Toby Fox. No way! Get out! And plus, Rudy's in the diagnosis stage. He might not even be dead within 3 days. The final piece of evidence I have that nails Rudy Knight into its coffin, or really unnails it and brings it to life, is his tendency to foreshadow things. He says he'll kick Susie's ass. Then, not 24 hours later, Susie gets her ass kicked. Rudy tells us, take Susie to the movies. Then a movie/TV dark fountain is opened. And strangely, the exact day that Rudy decides to attend church again after missing it for quite a while, mysteriously, the Roaring Knight opens a dark fountain there. Listen, I'm a Persona 4 fan, and when I see a bumbling side character that for some reason has a lot of dialogue and a talk sprite, and they love popping up right after discussions of the mystery masked culprit, I kinda literally have to hit you with the "I've played these games before! I've played these games before!" It's called Persona 4. Rudy is literally Adachi, guys. Come on! Yeah, Adachi if he got play. Now that I've shown all the evidence that you could ever want or need to prove that Rudy is the true Roaring Knight, let me summarize it all one last time. We know that the Roaring Knight is a reindeer, but not only that, it has specific traits associated with Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer. The knight has a motif of chest and lung problems, just like Rudy. The roaring knight also has a black katana, just like Rudy. Rudy being healed by the Dark Worlds on top of his already jokey personality explains the roaring knight's demeanor. Rudy's hospital bed is placed next to all the places where the Roaring Knight has opened dark fountains before. Also, Rudy being the Roaring Knight would perfectly parallel Asgore's role in Undertale. If he's not the knight, Rudy kind of has no other narrative function than him just dying to fuel someone else's character arc. Lastly, Rudy persistently and perfectly predicts the perilous events of the predacious Dark Worlds protected by Perry the Platypus, Peter Parker, and Peppermint Patty. And with that, I've essentially answered all the big questions in Deltarune. What's Ralsei? What happened to Des? What's the importance of Image Friend? What's all the secrets behind Gaster? Who's the final boss? Who's behind the mask of the Roaring Knight? But things can't end there, can they? I'm feeling something weird. See, at the beginning of the video, I said that every endgame plot revelation will circle back to the psychological works of Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung. And across this video, the connections back to that central theme have been feeling weaker and weaker. I mean, this idea was painted all over Ralsei's part, kinda covered Des, and completely avoided Rudy. Well, I think to get the full grasp of this understanding of Deltarune, let's zoom all the way out and review this entire collective of theories one last time. Say it with me, folks. It's theory time!
Fight the power! Row, fight the power!
In Deltarune, all remaining important plot revelations will, in some way, come back to the psychological findings of Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung. We'll begin with everyone's favorite Recorder of Fate, Ralsei. In the end, it'll be revealed that his true identity is the universal idea of friendship projected onto our brother Azrael. The knight is in cahoots with Kris and knows that the sibling of Azrael will be exploring these dark worlds in advance. When the idea of friendship is projected onto the identity of Azrael, we get the light that is the ever so fluffy and adorable Ralsei. Once we fully figure out what the truth of this part of the mind is, Ralsei can find a new level of friendship with the three heroes, the embodiment of what it means to lust, hunger, and thirst for blood, the voice that tells us good people don't do that, tempting us to follow the rules of the world, and lastly, the silent regulator between those other forces. But let's shift to what Des became. See, she went on a Dark World adventure that resulted in Image Friend taking her life. However, she was eventually revived by a dark fountain, creating a darkener similar to Gerson. But here's where a turn darker than dark is taken. Instead of being revived by the feelings of love, creativity, and mentorship, Des was revived with grief, regret, and loss. Des became the embodiment of repressed desires, the thoughts we were too scared to confront. Our hate, our grief, our sadness, the things we fear confronting, and especially in front of the rest of society, a shadow made manifest. This growing shadow, this queen of darkness, this Wendigo is what we'll fight as the final boss of the game. But before we get to confront what Des became, we'll have to go through the Roaring Night and confront the father, Rudy Holiday. We'll have to reckon with our own strength, independence, and more in our final meeting with Rudy, the man who began our entire adventure. After the origin of our development is confronted once and for all in the form of the Roaring Night, the repressed shadow cast by the light of the thoughts in our mind is reconciled with in the form of Des, and we make peace with the mask we wear for the public in the form of Ralsei. Only then can we bring to an end the story of... Oh, and one more thing. You saw that title? That's right, I'm going all in on predicting the ending of this game, and I'm gonna go chapter by chapter and give a dramatic presentation on what I believe the future events of this game will be, describing everything in intricate detail. So, let's head to chapter 5 of not only this video, but Deltarune, as I tell you the future of the story of Deltarune. Hit it!
Row, fight the power. Row, fight the power.
Chapter 5 opens on a black screen. After a few seconds, we hear an oddly familiar sound of a bird chirping and the wind flowing free. We then hear the ever so iconic sans text sound effect, with some dialogue that anyone familiar with Undertale should be terrified and sick to their stomach to hear. It's a beautiful day outside. Birds are singing. Flowers are blooming. On days like these, kids like you should be waking up! It's almost time for the festival. Oi mate, why are your curtains already open? Did you have a bad time sleeping last night? Sans nonchalantly wakes us up and we start chapter 5. We then go downstairs to see Toriel absolutely passed out from last night. We jostle her awake just in time for the festival. We arrive at the festival. We see balloons flow through the air. We see balloons flow through the wind like birds. We smell the food coming from a variety of stations and vendors, practically already being able to taste their hot dogs, funnel cakes, and ice cream. As the celebration roars, we hear a band play songs straight from the 70s, with the music getting drowned out by the tings of plastic rings hitting glass bottles in order to win the prize of a soft-to-the-touch plush of someone's favorite cartoon character from their childhood. We see everyone, and at the happiest we've ever seen them. On top of that, on this day, coincidentally, Asriel is finally home from college, and after months of waiting, we finally reunite with Asriel. We spend some time seeing some cool interactions and talking with Asriel to get a great narrative break from whatever happened in chapter 4. But eventually, we join Susie, and she is determined for the team to not get caught by surprise by another Dark World. Thus, we go around actively searching for one, just in case the Roaring Knight gets any tricky ideas and decides to open one at the festival. And as we wander into an indoor arcade or something similar with the company of Sans, Papyrus, Birdly, Noelle, and even more, we see a startling sight before us. We see Asgore pulling out a knife and plunging it into the earth in front of the entire arcade. And as he does this, he looks proud. Very, very interesting. As soon as this Dark World becomes official, we see Asgore announce something. He knew Dark Worlds were real this whole time, before everyone else did. Before even the Fun Gang knew about it. Asgore rushes off with the knight to create another Dark World hidden within Flower King. This is bad. This is bad. Our view of the Dark Worlds has shifted from places of fun, escapist fantasy or whatever, to the threats to all life on Earth they are if they continue to be opened. Not only are the threats getting larger in number, but more people than ever know about the Dark Worlds. This was opened in a public place, so remember that the common member of Hometown knows about these worlds and how to open one. Since this was opened in an arcade, we get a classic beat-em-up themed Dark World where we travel through a warped version of Hometown, and we beat up seemingly endless amounts of enemies as we barrel straight for the Dark Fountain. But we aren't alone in this, as we get help from pro gamer Birdly and our brother Azriel, defeating enemy after enemy. Our team up with Azriel climaxes in another rhythm game segment where we have to work together to dance along to another song beloved or even written by Des. As our resolve grows to find her, we dance in perfect rhythm while fighting how much we're sad that Des is missing, trying to keep ourselves afloat mentally through all the trauma of Des's disappearance. And with that, we close the Dark Fountain and pursue Asgore to Flower King. Azriel demands to be taken along, certain that exploring these Dark Worlds with us is the key to finding Des once and for all. Noelle wants to go so she can spend as much time as she can with Susie. Jockington, Birdly, and Sans are also there. We head into the Dark World of Flower King and see a city filled with life and vegetation. All is well except for rogue thieves and criminals led by a Darkener that's the physical embodiment of alimony payments. An evil villain that wants to steal everything from the floral residents of this Dark World. All of them rely on the help of the most reliable superhero you've ever seen, the one, the only, Flower Man. After encountering him, we temporarily side with him as we go through things that remind Asgore of his time with us, his kid. We keep saving the day with Flower Man, formerly known as Asgore, until we encounter and defeat a sweet alimony-themed boss battle. After that, we make it clear that our mission is to seal the Dark Fountain. After we make our mission clear, he tries to reason with us, begging us to let this Dark World stay, to let the past in this fantasy continue, before caving into his aggression and jealousy and turning on us. Asgore turns his back on us and retreats to the back of the Dark World. Eventually, we head to Asgore to knock him out of his asylum once and for all. But before the fight happens, something interesting occurs. See all those characters I suggested wandered into this dark world? Asgore tries forming a whole superhero team with them, promising Birdly a life of adventure and success, and to be beloved as a genius warrior by the whole world. That Susie and Noelle can start a life in a cottage together, and that, most troublingly, Jockington can grow a beard. After hearing the Jockington growing a beard comment, Susie lashes out, saying a strict no, strictly objecting to Asgore's fantasy, saying that commanding that the prophecy is not to happen, and in her rage, she lets slip the ending of the prophecy that the heroes will sacrifice themselves to save the world. The Fun Gang is determined to not see the end of the prophecy through, and Asgore is determined to stay in his own little world where he doesn't have to move on from his divorce with Toriel. So, the fight begins with the Flower Man, the hero of this floral dark world. We finally see his field of pink and gold charred in an inferno of jealousy, erupting to its breaking point after seeing Sans, the man who replaced him and got to be with Toriel instead of him. Eventually, he either has some sense beaten into him or is finally reasoned with. After that, he lets us see a horrifying truth. He finally tells us what happened to December and why he did everything that he did. For he was there on the day that December went missing. I already told you what I think happened to her like several times before, but here's the Cliff Notes version. Caddy taught us about the Dark Worlds and potentially how to summon the player. Des then did a whole Dark World adventure with her, Azrael, Kris, Asgore, and Sham. Des then encountered Image Friend, and Image Friend killed her. She then became a Gerson-like corpse darkener, but instead of being coated with memories of love and friendship, was coated with trauma and regret. Asgore then tried to tell his fellow police force members, which led to him getting taken out of the police force and eventually divorced. Upon hearing the whole story, the Roaring Knight takes off his helmet to reveal Rudy Holiday. He's been searching this whole time. He's been searching for Des this whole time, opening Dark Worlds in every place she used to go, but now he knows where she is. It's here that Rudy tells Asgore and the player the whole Roaring conspiracy. The plan was to open Dark Worlds in every place that Des used to go. The school that she went to, the library where she hung out with Noelle and showed her scary things, the house where she visited Azrael, the church where the family went together, the shop where she used to also visit Azrael, and the yearly festival. It would be the job of the cage with human soul and parts to go through each dark world and close the dark fountains. But there was a catch. Everyone else in the conspiracy knew that they did not have the spirit to close these dark fountains themselves. That's when most likely Carol Holiday concluded that an entity known as the Angel needed to be summoned to give us the guts and power to close these dark fountains. A creature with mysterious abilities, a being that could, for some reason, come back to life after dying, skillfully evade attacks, know the answers to puzzles before it was even presented to it, know the answers to questions that weren't even asked to it yet, could see things from a third-person omniscient point of view, and have unyielding control over someone. even if they needed to possess this kid and let them repeatedly get knocked unconscious or die from emotionally distressing combat encounters. That's not their child. We need to find ours, December Holiday. Above everything, we need to find her. After revealing the whole truth to everyone, Susie almost gets angry, before understanding that all the lies weren't coming from her best friend, but an elite group of conspirators and an otherworldly angel. Susie's bond isn't broken and vows to the Roaring Knight to end their plans. Rudy chuckles and remarks about how Noelle chose such a great partner before dashing out of the dark world and into the bunker where Rudy will finally get to see his daughter again. Even if it's an illusion, even if she's already gone and everything he did was all for nothing, he'll finally see her again, just for a few fleeting moments. Even if Rudy doesn't have all the time in the world left, he'll finally realize the dream that he's been chasing with the help of others once and for all. Rudy uses all that he has left to dash out of the bunker to see her again. We close the Flower King Dark Fountain, and we get a good night's rest before facing the Roaring Knight one last time.
Row, row, fight the power. Row, fight the power.
After school ends, we walk down the hall one last time and are confronted by Susie, and she delivers one last speech about what control we have over our lives and actions, and maybe even embracing the future. The last speech readies us for the late game as we head off to the Holiday household to announce we're not part of the Roaring Conspiracy anymore. To find that Carol and Rudy are gone, and all that's left is Noelle, who we bring along as we march down to the bunker with the 3 codes in hand to finally end the terror that is Deltarune. The bunker dark world we walk into is far from anything we could have expected. We see a musical theater play, and the play is known as The Exciting Life of December Holiday. We see the life of December told from beginning to end as whimsically as possible. Every moment treated with pure and innocent glee. Even her death is presented with glee and whimsy. Crowds of angels cheering as she is whisked away from her world of torment and sin and into eternal paradise, free from suffering. Alright, as a whole dungeon, I'm imagining something similar to like the 4th dungeon of Persona Q2, or like even worse, the Gregory sequence from The Remains of Edith Finch. What if like the tactical military equipment she keeps in her room is like carried down to the bunker and reimagined as a group of knights? Or what if her boyfriend Azriel is like reimagined as like a royal suitor from another kingdom? For another idea, what if at some point in her life Des went to like this dingy underground mosh pit and it gets like reimagined in this dark world as like a magnificent royal ball? Just some ideas. We get a straight shot through this majestically dark play that ends with what we've been dreading. Us facing off against the Cheshire Cat we've been chasing throughout this entire game. We're back, and much stronger than before. The tail of hell takes crawl as our heroes duel against the sharp enforcer of our deeply buried childhood trauma. Image_friend finally comes out of the shadows in full to face us one last time. Swinging with all their might, both sides shall make sure this painful reunion is the last time they ever meet. After a battle that will most definitely end in brutal violence, we have gotten one over on the beast that slayed our childhood hero. With Image Friend defeated, all we gotta do is defeat the Roaring Knight and seal the bunker's dark fountain. We see Rudy crying in front of the entity that thinks it's Des. Even though it's an illusion of his kid. And you're gonna have to take that illusion over his dead body. We have our final confrontation with the Roaring Knight. We're struck with the final realization that the Roaring Knight isn't some evil monster that wants to end the world, but a grieving father. Not only that, but the Roaring Knight isn't by themselves. Rudy is joined by Holiday, now the Shining Shogun, and Azrael, now the Bereaved Prince. Together, they form a dark version of the Fun Gang. A knight in shining armor who desires to find Des. A girl who puts up a tough demeanor to hide the tragedies that befell her. And a fluffy goat boy who barely values himself. With the ability to do full damage and not get one shot, we deal with them one by one. Eventually, we win! And the day is saved. Everyone comes to terms with the fact that they will need to say goodbye to Des, and even though it may be tough, the being in front of them isn't even her in the first place. With that, we're ready to seal the final dark fountain. By all accounts, the story should be over by now. We know who the Roaring Knight is, and we defeated them. We fought and defeated a Titan. We helped Asgore deal with his divorce. We allowed Birdly to become an epic pro gamer. Azrael came home, and we even found Des. By all points, Deltarune should be done with by now. But then something big happens. Rudy and Des embrace one last time. The fake version of Des, piles of her dust, commands Rudy to make one more dark fountain, bringing forth a Titan. And due to the events of Chapter 5, everyone in Hometown knows how to make one now. Birdly and Caddy open their own as one last-ditch effort to never be alone again, shallow as that attempt is. And with the internet back online, everyone on Earth now knows how to make a dark fountain. Hundreds, no, thousands, no, millions of dark fountains open around the world by lonely people who desire to never be alone again. In reality, we will only grow apart. It's a system built for this isolation, and in the future, it will grow more harsh, day by day. You will live in a pod, eat bugs, and praise your overlords. Your dream has been stolen and eviscerated, not by one villain in a powerful narrative, but by an army of business-loving boomers, HR managers who revel in your rejection, and peers that fear getting hurt, and thus avoid lending a hand, denying your salvation from your crushing isolation. What about fiction? A world different from ours. Yui Hirasawa wouldn't deny your love. She, given the chance, she'd give you a big hug and let you cry into her arms. She'd even go on a date given the chance, just to make you smile. Yui loves you and thinks you're special, just the way you are. If the light illuminates a world where you will endlessly be alienated to fuel a system based on it, then the dark lets us imagine a world where you're part of the club and your absence would be an absolute tragedy. With that realization, the lights are out for our reality, and we embrace the darkness. This is our world, heading into Deltarune Chapter 7. In the world of the roaring, the entire planet has become a dark world. A world where thoughts and reality are as one. All life forms on the planet are connected, watchful eyes over each other, while also being in their own alienated bubble. So with the roaring started, piles of December's dust traps everyone in crystals and uses advanced levels of darkness to try and take us out. One last ploy to make sure everyone follows their roles and expectations in the prophecy as intended. The first hero is a cage. The second hero is Noel. And the third hero is alone in deepest dark. One last time. However, even this fails. Even though it may seem otherwise. We're not alone on this. The natural desire of mankind is to stand together. We'll do anything to avert the fate of isolation and alienation. We'll develop new technologies, adventure great lengths, and learn new languages. To stay together for thousands of years, we've done the impossible, seen the invisible, touched the untouchable, and broke the unbreakable. So we ain't facing this beast by ourselves. So if you ain't know that, now you know. We awaken everyone from their crystals made out of their fears and isolation, and crawl our way back to the amalgamation that is December's memory, and the grief that we now have since she is gone. While this adventure was fun, the real world in the future will inevitably come knocking. The time has come. Deltarune waits no longer, and we need to face this monster that isn't her. Truly, the dream has come to reality. The dream of confronting this physical manifestation of pain and misery with the assistance of those around us, our childhood best friend, the class nerd, the football player with no arms, the occult practitioner, our parents, the joking convenience store owner. Even he would never forget us. Together, this collective buried trauma is taken care of, and we drill December one last time! I promise that was a Gurren Lagann reference and not anything risque. That sounded way much better in my head. Well, the deed is done, and we have defeated the being haunting everyone for years. We embrace the future and whatever reality has, not by ourselves, but together, with the creature dealt with, and the roles forced upon us cast away. The sun shines bright on a new day, proving once and for all, unforgettably, the last thing humanity was ever meant to be was alone. For when the light is
running low, and the shadows start to grow, and the places that you know seem like fantasy, there's a light inside your soul that's still shining in the cold, with the truth, the promise in our hearts. Don't forget, I'm with you in the dark.
Well, with that, our business here is done. The angel's heaven is banished. And since we are the angel, that place is revealed to be our real world. We bid Deltarune adieu, free to carry a spirit filled with determination and optimism for the future into the real world.